Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be continuing with Jesus Calling Bible Storybook, reading the story of Moses. The story of Moses, a baby in a basket. Jacob's family lived in Egypt for about 400 years after he died. His family kept growing and growing. Moms, dads, babies, big kids, grandmas and grandpas, aunts, uncles, cousins. Even though they all lived in Egypt, they called themselves Israelites. Remember Jacob's new name? They were God's people. Egypt had a new king, a mean king. He hated the Israelites and made them his slaves. He planned to kill all their baby boys, so Jacob's family would get smaller instead of bigger. To protect her new baby boy, one mother made a basket that would float. She hid him in the basket in the reeds along the banks of the Nile River. The baby sister watched to see what would happen. The king's daughter was on the riverbank that day and saw him floating in his basket. "How sweet you are," the princess cooed. She felt sorry for the baby and she adopted him. She named him Moses, which means I lifted him out of the water. The story of Moses. God speaks to Moses from Exodus 2-3. Even though Moses grew up in the palace of the king of Egypt, he knew he was an Israelite. One day he killed an Egyptian who was hurting a fellow Israelite. That made the king mad. Moses was afraid and ran away. God knew how badly the king treated the slaves. He didn't like it one bit. He was ready to do something about it. While Moses tended some sheep out in the desert, he saw a bush on fire, but the bush didn't burn up. Moses went closer to see. "Moses, Moses," God called from the bush. Moses could not believe God was speaking to him. "Take off your sandals, Moses, for you are standing on holy ground. It is I, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I know the king treats my people badly. Tell them that I will save them. Tell them that I sent you. Then go to the king and say, 'Let my people go.'" God was sending him back to Egypt. Didn't God know that Moses had run away? Didn't God know that he was scared? God knew all these things, but he had big plans for Moses. So Moses obeyed God. He and his brother Aaron went to see the king. The story of Moses, the Passover, from Exodus 5-12. Moses and Aaron told the king, "God says, 'Let my people go.'" The king answered, "No." They said it again. The king said no again. After that, the king was really mean to the slaves. God had decided to punish the people of Egypt, but he also wanted to show that he was much greater than the gods of Egypt. So God sent 10 plagues, a stinky river, frogs everywhere, bugs on everyone, flies in the air, dead farm animals, terrible sores, hailstorms, locusts, total darkness. And the king still said, "No, I will not let your people go." Then God said, "I will pass over the houses of Egypt, and death will come to all its firstborn sons and male animals." But he also told each Israelite family to kill a lamb and put some of the blood on the outside of their front door. This was to be a sign that they were God's children. and that they wanted him to save their sons and animals. Jesus would someday die like these lambs to save his children from being punished for their sins. That is why Jesus is called the Passover Lamb. When God did as he said, all of Egypt's firstborn sons and male animals died, including the king's own son. Then the king told Moses, "Gather your people and get out of here." Jesus calling. Finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Ephesians 6:10. I made you to be strong and to do many things, but I want you to do things with my help. When you really trust me, I can do more than you could ever imagine, just as I did for the children of Israel. My mighty power is much, much greater than the power of all the strongest people in the world put together, including kings, presidents, and great athletes. The story of Moses, Moses the great leader, from Exodus 14 through 16. Back in Egypt, the king was mad at himself. What have I done? Where are my slaves? I should have let the Israelites go free. I should not have let the Israelites go free. He ordered his army to go after them. Soldiers mounted their horses. The chariots came charging. Thousands of soldiers stormed with their weapons, all of them chasing God's people. The Israelites saw that the Egyptian soldiers were coming, and they were afraid. In front of them lay the great Red Sea. "Pick up your staff, Moses," God said. "Hold it up toward the water." Moses obeyed. The wind rushed. The sea tore open, and a dry path appeared with walls of water on each side. God's people hurried through until every one of them reached the other side. The Egyptians were still chasing them when God slammed the sea shut, saving his people from the king's soldiers. And the Israelites sang, "God is so great that he can make the sea part to save his people." The Israelites walked all day, every day, for nearly 6 weeks. They grew hungry and grumpy. "Why did you free us?" they complained to Moses and Aaron. "As slaves, we had food. Now we are starving." God heard. He sent a flock of birds, known as quail, to the Israelites for their dinner. Then he told Moses, "Tomorrow, bread will rain down from the heaven. Tell my people to gather it, but take only what they need for the day." The next morning, the people saw something that looked like thin wafers all over the ground. "What is it?" they asked Moses. "This is God's bread from heaven," he said, "every morning except the day of rest." Wherever they went, flakes of bread fell from the heaven and covered the ground. The people called it manna. For 40 years, as they walked through the desert, manna kept them from starving. The story of Moses, the 10 Commandments from Exodus 19 to 31. God promised the Israelites a special place to live, but before they got there, God wanted them to understand his rules. God told Moses to meet him on a mountaintop. So Moses went up and stayed there with God for 40 days and nights, learning God's laws. God then took 2 big pieces of stone. On them he carved the 10 Commandments, 10 special rules for us to obey. 1. Make God your only God. 2. Don't worship anything except God. 3. Be respectful in using God's name. 4. Keep the Lord's Day special. 5. Honor your parents. 6. Do not kill. 7. Keep your marriage promises. 8, do not steal. 9, do not lie. 10, do not want what others already have. Jesus Calling. Keep my commands and follow them. I am the Lord. Leviticus 22:31. I gave you my commands because I love you so much. When you follow them, you not only bring me joy, you also make your own life full of joy. I know what is best for you because I made you. I put you together before you were born. I am your creator. The story of Moses, a golden calf, from Exodus 32 through 33. When Moses was gone for so long on the mountain with God, the Israelites stopped trusting God. They said to Aaron, "We need a God who can lead us." So Aaron told them to take off their gold jewelry. He melted the gold and molded it to the shape of a calf. The people bowed to the golden calf and brought it gifts. They danced around and worshipped it. God was already mad when he saw his people worshiping a statue. He sent Moses back down the mountain. "What have you done?" Moses cried out to Aaron. "Trust only God." Moses asked God to forgive the people. Though God punished them, he never stopped loving them. He told them to keep walking toward his promised land. Jesus Calling. I wipe away your sins because of who I am, and so I will forget the wrongs you have done. Isaiah 43:25. When you do something wrong, remember that I still love you. Just come to me and tell me you're sorry, because you are my precious child. Nothing can stop me from loving you. I will forget the wrong things you have done, and I'll help you do right things. Spies, from Numbers 13 through 14. Moses picked 12 of his finest men and told them, "Go spy on our enemies. Sneak into the land God promised us, and report back. Find out if the people are powerful or weak. Tell us about their cities and land. If you can, bring back some fruit." The men did what Moses said and spied on Canaan for 40 days. They brought back bunches of grapes that were so big it took 2 men to carry them. The land is good for growing food, but the cities have thick walls, and the people there are giants. They are so big and so strong that they make us look like grasshoppers. One of the spies, Caleb, jumped up. "Hey, those big guys shouldn't scare us. God is with us. Let's go take our land from these people." They believe in false gods and serve idols. His friend Joshua agreed. "Let's do it." Their faith pleased God, but the other 10 spies were afraid. The trip from Egypt to the Promised Land should have taken 11 days, but because the people did not trust in God, they had to wander in the desert for 40 long years. Only Joshua, Caleb, and the youngest of the Israelites would get to go into the Promised Land. Jesus Calling. Do not be afraid of your enemies. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. Deuteronomy 3:22. I know the world is scary sometimes. Many people are bigger than you, and it's easy to be afraid, but remember, I will fight for you, so you can be brave by trusting me. I'll be pleased with you, just as I was with Joshua and Caleb. When you feel afraid, say, "I trust you, Jesus." Thanks everyone for watching. I hoped you enjoyed. Please subscribe. Until next time.